Welcome to the Wisconsin Wrestler Podcast with your co-hosts Teague Fenwick and Steve Lurkwood.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wisconsin Wrestler Podcast. I'm your host, Teague Fenwick, coming to you from Holmen. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Steve Lurkwin. Steve, great to be here.
It is great to be here. Even though we might not sound like it, we're still a little tired. It is great to be here. Still talking some wrestling.
It was just an exhausting weekend in the best way possible.
Absolutely.
It was a fun one, man. Obviously, individual state this weekend. So, lots to talk about. We're gonna run through all the brackets, and then gonna pick our wrestlers of the year. For girls, D3, D2, D1. And then I would say if you need to listen to one part of the podcast, if you only listen to one part, I would say tune in at the end, because I'm going to do this reading from this forum post from a few years back called The Other Guy on the Mat, and we can talk more about that once we get to that point. Also, if you guys are tuning in, 9 o'clock was the time we had to make it work tonight, so thank you for tuning in live. If you can't stay up through the whole thing, that's totally okay. So we do have this come out on iTunes, Spotify. You can listen to it later on as well. So don't feel like you need to stay up for us. Steve, state. It was a fun state experience, I guess. Off the mat stuff real quick. I think we can always attest, whatever tournament we go to, you meet and you talk to a lot of really nice people. And I think state's kind of like the big mingling of like a lot of those people. And there's some people that you only see that time of year. So I think it makes it, The social part of state might be one of my favorite parts about it.
It is fun.
We got a little bit of new gear too.
Yeah. I got them ready to show off.
Yeah, we got shirts from Hudson and Cambridge this weekend. So I'm wearing a sweatshirt right now. Steve's, there's the Hudson, the Raiders.
Nice. Look at that. Names on the back. Pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was, I'm sure we'll be talking more about that gift a little later too. So the Hudson shirt was cool. The Cambridge shirt, pretty cool as well. We love our merch. Steve, this was a fun event. Hey, there's the Cambridge shirt. This was a fun event. I got free Dippin' Dots, man. The Brookfield East coach, the Beast coach. Hope I'm saying it, Mike Rakowicki. Sorry if I got that wrong, Mike, but he got me around a Dippin' Dots, and then Allie Peterson of Somerset joined in on the fun. So that was kind of a highlight. And then, Steve, we'll talk about our finals experience in a second, but I was leaving Madison. I stopped at a Quick Trip on the way out. I was walking out, and I see this lady with an Arrowhead hat. I'm like, oh, she must be like a wrestling person. Like, I can't just talk to her. That might be a little weird. And then I'm about to go to my car, and she slowly rolls down her window, and she's like, Teague? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'm Holly Farrell. I'm like,
oh, no way.
Oh, nice to meet you. And talked to Holly for a little bit, and her kid, they must have went to the candy store in Madison because her kid had a big bag of candy, and I told him, I'd said, like, hey, I'll give you $1 for, like, one of those sour straws. And Holly made him give it to me for free because he's wrestling next week. So, nice. Yeah, it was had a great interaction on my way out of Madison. Steve, it was an honor. We got to feed stats to Mr. Shane Sparks for the finals. How about that?
Well, not only that, T, you got to, what 3 weight classes? Got to call the action with Shane Sparks?
It ended up being 5. I counted.
5. Wow. That was awesome. I mean, I was just sitting up there with my binoculars looking around every now and then. I'd take a look to my left and see, hey, there's my boy calling the action with none other than Shane Sparks. That was a proud, I don't know if you're old enough to, or if I'm old enough to be your dad, Teague. Maybe I am, but that was a proud papa moment right there.
Just saw me a proud papa moment. Just saw me with visible sweat on my brow commentating.
You did great. You did. I tell you what, if anybody gets a chance, you got to go back and listen. Teague did awesome.
I really liked the moments. You can tell I listened to some Shane Sparks because there were some moments where we said the same thing at the same time. I'm like, wow, this is it. I made it.
That's sweet.
But that's yeah, Steve. You got anything else from the weekend before we hop into these brackets here?
Nah, let's get rocking. I'm sure we'll probably relive some other stuff, but might be a long show, so we can get rocking and rolling.
Yeah, 128 last year. I did the time for it, so we'll check it out. We'll buzz in on the comments as well for those folks tuning in. Brad, we were basically early. It was still 9:00, just not 9 on the dot. But all right, Steve. Starting with the ladies, we got 100 pounds for the girls. Brooke Corrigan of De Pere captures her second state title, beating Isabel Sonnentag of Cadott 10-4 in the finals. What a bracket, and man, Izzy Sonnentag looked like a world beater in those first 3 rounds, and I think that's what makes Corrigan's win look that much more impressive. But not even her closest match, Steve, had a 7-5 match with Ava Gardner, the people's champ of Marshfield, in the semifinals.
Yeah, right on. No, I just like this fight. Very well-known names in the state of Wisconsin. You mentioned it, Corrigan, 2-time state champ. Sonigan was in the lead in that one. Got the first takedown.
I also want to give one more shout out to Holman's at Nora Lee on a great career, ending up on the podium, finishing at 5th there. 107 pounds. Taylor Whiting, the better Whiting, beats Savannah Danielson of Wausau 4-0 in the finals. Dominant performance by the freshman. Steve, you know right away it puts her in the conversation for the 4-timer talk. We'll talk about it right when they go 1 for 1 on this show. But Steve, I mean, obviously a lot can be said about Whiting and her performance. How about Savannah Danielson? Obviously, they addressed that the girls' seating might not be perfect, but still, Danielson got injured. Like, it was not good at the start of the year at the Husky Invite. Comes back, only 15 matches on her record, and makes the finals. And it was a strong showing by her. So props to Danielson for making the run to the finals.
Yeah, it was a great fight. I mean, 2 takedowns for Whiting. And I tell you, I got a story. I've been trying to get my daughter. She's a freshman. I'm trying to get her to come out for wrestling. I keep talking to her about it. And she would be 107 pounds. That's right where her weight category is. And I think it was Whiting's dad. Is it Shane? Is it Shane Whiting? I think it is. And on Facebook, he put a picture up and had Whiting was doing this, flexing. And I showed my daughter, I said, hey, this is the champ at 107 pounds. And I shouldn't have done that because if you see the picture, it's she's looking pretty ripped. And my daughter looks at it and she goes, yeah, no, I'm good. So in my attempt to motivate my daughter to go out, I think I discouraged her with a picture of Taylor Whiting in her celebration pose.
Also, I don't know if you saw the photo of Taylor jumping into Clayton's arms, but that was like one of my favorite photos from this weekend.
Nice.
It was good stuff. Steve, we'll go after the girls, or we'll talk about predictions after the girls and the numbers on that. But Steve, I went against Miss Bopa, and it looks like I was a little wrong on that one, as Bopa Quintana of Sun Prairie wins her second state title in a dramatic fashion, beating Angie Bianchi in sudden victory 6-4. Basically just like plowed her over in the overtime period. And man, props to Bianchi, gave her a really good match. But Steve, the senior from Sun Prairie, ending her career on a proper note in a very good bracket, might I add.
Very good. Yeah, 2-time state champ. Wasn't a bad pick, Teague. I mean, it's not like we're totally out there. But yeah, Bopa, she's tough.
Maddie Peach did end up finishing 3rd in that bracket, who was my pick. Beat someone who placed last year, Lily Becker from Beast. Steve, 120 pounds. Caitlin Kelly, another 2-time champion. The senior pinned MJ Newman of Manitowoc Lincoln in a minute 25 in the finals. And man, this was a fun bracket. Newman beating Stokowski in the semis was pretty crazy. I just want to say with Kelly, just her story is awesome, living up in Florence, Niagara, the amount of travel time that she puts in, and just a great family. I talked to her mom a little bit, and they're just so supportive of her, and it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see someone like that win a title. I saw her before like the finals. She was like dancing around to the music that there's a DJ at the Kohl Center this year.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. Absolutely, that was awesome.
She was getting pretty into it. You can just tell she's a happy soul, and for her to go out with a championship was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it as far as well, one, nice kid, but if there's a geographical disadvantage, Kelly has it, and just to be able to overcome that as far as travel and everything she has to do to, get those workouts in and do what she needs to do. Just congratulations to her once again. Like you said, awesome young lady.
All right, next up here at 126 pounds, Carly Keschker of a Badger beats Lily Banks of Menasha 9-1 in the finals. And Steve, I think Keschker lived up to the billing for the hype that she had coming in. B, this bracket in general lived up to the hype in general. And wow, the freshman just showed out, ended up placing top 3 between Keschker, Banks, and then D'Elia Collins, who lost to Keschker in the semifinals. Yeah, this bracket was crazy. I think what speaks to the strength of it is Brooke Scheineman of Plymouth placed 6th in it, who was 3rd last year.
Yeah, I mean, Teague, I know you talked about the story of Carly a bunch of times on air, but maybe some people don't know the story, and they were razzing us when we did picks because we all forgot. I think we both forgot to pick her, didn't we, Teague? Oh, you picked her?
I picked her.
Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to steal one from you, but yeah, that's a pretty cool story with her.
All right, 132 pounds. Kylie Rule of Mineral Point pins Angela Zimmerman of Barron. Zimmerman was undefeated going into the finals. Pinned her way through the bracket, Steve. Got the pin and won at 58 into this one. And what is there to say about Rule that we haven't said the last 2 years? I mean, beats last year's runner-up, Sophia Galoff, in the semis. So not like it was an easy bracket name-wise by any means. But, yeah, the pointer goes out on top.
Yeah, and Angela Zimmerman, she had a tough sudden victory win over as Andrea Mason to get to the finals as well. So, it was overall just a tough bracket. But Rule, man, just, oh, dare I say it, Teague, Rule ruled the day.
Let's go. Nice joke, Dad.
Well, I don't know. It wasn't nice.
All right. 138 pounds. Madeline Sokolsky of Bonduelle beats Maddie Pappenthien of Middleton 7-0 in the finals. And maybe might need to start calling Sokolsky Madeline Arkeolsky, Steve, with the celebration that she had. My favorite, I used to, as a former WWE fan and a former Randy Orton fan, the RKO celebration, it just takes the cake for me. And I
saw a video of it. I saw a video. I didn't see it live. I must have been looking away or doing something.
I got to call it live on air. I called it exactly like Jim Ross would. It was great. But Steve, it was funny. Pappenthien made the finals, and that's who Joe Miller was coaching. Messaged us on Instagram the next day like, hey, you're welcome for getting you on TV. I'm like, all right, well, that is totally fair. Also got to give a shout out to 6th place finisher Nevaeh Nwaku of St. Croix Falls. Just saw the Instagram post where we got tagged in it. St. Croix Falls is a first state place winner, Steve. They're doing good things up there with the girls program as well.
Right on.
Steve, 145 pounds, another bracket that had a lot of expectations going into it and lived up to the billing, and then some. First and foremost in the semis, Chloe LaRue, who got taken down first by Evvetch of Holman. She ended up getting her in an armbar in the second period, pinned her in 2:23 in the semis, and then in the finals, which they had the score wrong on the TV thing I was looking at, so I had a hard time commentating it. But Haley Krieger of a New London, Steve, beats LaRue at 13-9 in a state finals rematch from last year. And let me tell you what, I know people like poke fun at her picks. I think Haley Krieger took us not picking her personally, and by the end of the tournament, obviously after you win it, you're gonna have some fun with it. But yeah, that's that was fun interacting with her and her coach and father Nathan throughout the weekend, talking about that.
Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, it was all in good fun. But at one point, Teague, Haley was down 5-3, but man, holy cow! Did you look at the scoring for the second and third period? It was just a flurry of activity and one of the most entertaining finals to watch on the girls' side.
I did not know. do you have the box score up? Oh,
I don't have it up, but it was pretty good. It was just nonstop scoring, reversals, near falls. It was pretty good.
Sorry, Brad commented Steve the Stilts Lurkwin. We'll talk about it after this weight class, but I just gotta say too, I know I picked Evvetch to win it, kind of like the little Holman homer pick, but Steve, you know how we do it with our picks. We ride with our picks, win or lose, and don't know if Evvetch listens to the show or not, but if I could tell her as like a coach or even a media person, I'm really proud of her and her career. So I want to get that out there before we move on to 152 pounds. Also, before we go on to 152 pounds, Steve, 3 or 4 people telling you this weekend that you're a lot taller than they thought you would be. And it never, I just never thought about it. But then someone, and I was like, oh, I guess Steve is pretty tall. I kind of have to look up to him when I talk to him.
I don't know what people think when they're watching me on this thing. I don't know what the appearance comes across, but I have gotten at the state tournament last year and this year, I've gotten, I think 4 times now. Oh, I thought you were shorter. And I even got one, I'll name him nameless, but he just coached a state champ at 182 pounds in Division II, if you want to look him up. But when he looked at me and he saw me, he goes, oh man, I thought you'd be heavier. So one coach just thought I was fatter, and people, I don't know. People just think I'm short and overweight.
Girl's 152 pounds. I thought like just a tall Steve could be a fun name, but Steve the Stilts might. 152 pound Steve. We both picked against the 1 seed, and we both fail yet again as a Brianna Weir caps a dominant state tournament, pinned Maeve Mahalik of Germantown in the semis in the second period, and then beat now 2-time runner-up Isabel Olson of Oak Creek 18-4 in the finals.
Yeah, Weir had 4 takedowns and 8 points off of near fall. Just a dominant performance in that win.
Steve, Isabel Olson as a sophomore at 2-time runner-up, you have to think that at some point the Oak Creek wrestler going to find her way to a state title here.
Absolutely.
165 pounds. Steve, this one, I did not feel more confident in picking many people, like championship-wise, and then being wrong in this bracket. But
yeah,
just starting off, Rachel Schauer of Fenimore beats Alex Hoffrichter of Antigo, a state champ last year, 13-12. She was up, Steve, 13-7. Hoffrichter hit a move, and she threw her. Got the near fall. It wouldn't have been enough. I thought she was going to get the pin. It looked pretty close from our vantage point. But Schauer's able to fight it off and made the finals. And then how about Siriana Reinwald winning in dramatic fashion herself? Was down 4-0 with about 30 seconds left and defended a cradle attempt pretty well by it. Schauer got the reversal and 3 near fall and held her there. And wow, what a... Steve, it may have been, I mean, I would say like a top 3 dramatic finish for the state tournament.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah,
for sure.
State finals. You're right. I thought Hoffrichter, when I watched her, we had a girl at state and Grayson Hine, and she just tossed her and pinned her. I'm like, holy cow, she's amazing. And when Reinwald beat her, I just thought it was Hoffrichter's to win, but just shows you how good that 165 pound weight class is.
185 pounds. Ella Creighton, the 8th seed, wins the bracket. She pinned Keela Deering of Clintonville in 3 minutes, 54 seconds in the finals. Steve, it was funny, your closest match actually against Abby Swanson in the first round. Beat the Hodag 2-1 in that first round of matchup. And I mean, Deering even on the other side, Steve, coming in as the 11 seed.
Yeah.
And then, taking out, it would have been the 6 seed. Oh, wow, there's a lot of upsets in this bracket. But
yeah, it was wide open.
beat the 6 seed and then beat the 2 seed in the semifinals to get there. But Creighton just wrestled a really good tournament, and it's just funny to see that result that she had. And Steve Swanson, who lost that first round matchup to her, ended up placing 3rd. So props to
wrestled
her for
all the way
wrestling
back.
all the way back. Yep.
Yeah, the Iron Man or Iron Woman award in this case.
235 pounds. Steve, we both went opposite here. I went with Kate Reege. You went with Madison Burns. And Madison Burns, the Ashland sophomore, just dominated her way through the bracket with 4 pins. Her final one coming against Isabel Reeb of Wisconsin Lutheran in 25 seconds. And just kind of awe-inspiring to watch, Steve. She was dominant and kind of, I talked about Regan, how she pins everyone on top. Reeg chose down in the 3rd. She was down 1-0, and Burns ended up pinning her. So kind of flipped the script a little bit there.
Yeah, that's where I knew it was her title when she beat Reeg in the semis. I'm like, uh-oh. someone awoke in the giant within her, right?
Yeah, that 235 bracket, just a fun one. Faith Pritzloff, the 1 seed, ended up placing at 5th there. So a deep bracket there at girls 235 pounds. Moving on, we started our predictions with D3. Gonna start our recap with D1.
Teague, are we waiting till Wrestler of the Year at the end, or you want to wait till after each division, so to speak?
Oh, good call. Do you want to?
It's your call, man. You call the shot.
Let's do let's do our Wrestler of the Year right now. All right, girls Wrestler of the Year. Do you want to go first?
No, you go first. I got to find my notes.
All right, so I would say
Go ahead.
So with Wrestler of the Year for folks tuning in, I do give the discretion. Steve and I are wrestling fans. We're not wrestling experts. Whatever the criteria is for our Wrestler of the Year, it could be a multitude of things. We'll explain it out. Oh, I guess this is why we all do it at once, Steve. But we don't pick 4-timers. The reason is, 4-timers get a lot of run anyways. We know how good they are for one. So they don't need us picking them as Wrestler of the Year. But B, we also plan on getting them on our show when we do a little more extended conversation. So, see, I would say when we pick our Wrestler of the Year, it's basically giving ourselves one more opportunity to talk about someone for the end of the year. Yeah. So, obviously, one of my top 2 choices with this, well, you think of Burns' dominant performance, Weir's performance as well. Keschker, of course, what she did in her bracket was fun. Then Caitlin Kelly, I just love her story, and I think I kind of had her as my number 2. But, Steve, I think one thing kind of swung me with this person. So, being able to hear her TV interview after when Kylie Rule won her title, you could tell that she was overcome with emotion, and just that she understood the meaning of, like, what her title meant, and how when she celebrated, she pointed right at the Mineral Point folks. Like, she just gets it, Steve. Like, she gets what wrestling is all about and what it means to her and her team and her community. And I even saw her at the end of the whole tournament when it was like 285, and you could tell she still, like, had those emotions running through her. And this was after winning state. Like, it already started to hit her. Like, that was it for her high school career. And I just think seeing someone with, like, a love for the sport like that, and she just knowing that she gets it, and also just to go along with her dominant performance too, I'm giving Kylie Rule of Mineral Point my Wrestler of the Year.
Nice. Good choice. I'm just going to talk, you talked about a lot, so I'm not going to go too much into them. It's really close in my top 2. My first runner-up has got to be Bopa, right? And the reason being is I've seen her at 2 tournaments, maybe 3 tournaments, at guys tournaments, and she's dominant, right? I mean, she's placed high. I watched her, wrestle with the guys, so she's just a dominant wrestler even on the guys' side. Okay, and then obviously a big win over a big name, Bianchi, in the finals. So she'd be my first runner-up. But my champ, and I went with my champ because one, we already talked about her story, just the geographical, limitations, I guess, if you will, just being able to do what she has to do to compete. But looking at that bracket, Teague, obviously beating MJ Newman in the finals, but Josephine Stokowski, I mean, I know she didn't wrestle her directly, but Josephine Stokowski was in that bracket, right? I mean, she first girl state qualifier at the D1 level. That was a really tough bracket to win. So my wrestler of the year is 120-pound champion Caitlin Kelly.
All right. That's a good choice, man. There's plenty of good, you really can't go wrong when you pick someone for that award. Steve, Jason Welch did say on Rockfin, do D3 next. I'm tired. And I was planning on doing it. So we are doing D1 first for Team State. Executive decision. We're going to go D3 first because I think the end of D1 is going to kind of be a good lead in to to what we do at the end. So
perfect.
Sorry for the D1 fans out there. D2, you were in the middle no matter what. Sorry.
Fan interaction. I love it.
Also, Jason, I'm guessing your person of interest is at the end, so you promise you better stay up for the next 20 minutes.
Because we changed it for you.
Well, yeah, it also jogged my memory as to why I had D3 listed first in the outline. Steve, 106 pounds, Drew Dolphin of Kenosha Christian Life in the finals. He beat Aiden Grudenfelder of Pecatonica Argyle 6-5 in a match that went right down to the wire. But Steve comes in undefeated with two other undefeated wrestlers in this bracket, and it's not like the rest of the bracket was weak, but props to Dolphin for winning a state title, breaking through his junior year.
Yeah, did enough to hold on, and had a tough semifinal as well. Got a little bit of a lead and had to weather the storm at the end. But you nailed it, Teague. 106 pounds was the bracket I was watching and really tuned into. Love the semifinals. Both of those matches were just intense.
All right, 113 pounds. We had Brett Birchman of Fenimore. He beat Wyatt Unser of Glenwood City 9-6 in the finals. Steve, I think we got we'll just jump right to Unser beating Fitzpatrick, the state champ last year in the semis, 6-2 in Sun victory. Pretty impressive. But Birchman winning a title with Fenimore. Remember our conversation with Chad Stout last year? He said that the team wasn't happy with how they performed at individual state, and his goal was to have them do better on that individual portion, even though they were team state champions. So if we do get Chad on the show, I'm excited to potentially talk to him about what the team did to get up for the state tournament, because as we're going to find out, it definitely, whatever they did worked.
Yeah, they changed something up and or maybe just a year of experience, right? I mean, you get that experience down there and know you don't want to have that feeling again. But Fenimore picked up champs 8, 9, and 10 this coming weekend, so they're doing something right, obviously.
All right, 120 pounds. Koji Campbell of Kenosha St. Joseph beat Rowan Carey of Mineral Point 12-6 in the finals. Steve, the Reagan coaches, Briggs and Bennett, told me you got to stop picking against Koji, and they were right, because it seems like everyone had a game plan against Koji. Yeah, no, you were right. You did pick Koji.
Oh, thank you. Please stop. No, please. That's good.
But I mean, you could even tell in the finals, the Mineral Point boys came in with a good game plan against them too. They tried to do everything they could to neutralize him, and he still ended up getting the victory. So, I mean, I knew he was a great wrestler, so I just got to quit doubting him at the state level. And also, I got to point out the Roan Carey semifinal victory, round 4 over Amron Nutter of Fenimore.
That was a great. I was sitting probably 20 feet away watching that. That was intense, watching the two coaches go at it. But Koji Campbell, bringing it back to him, he had a tough one, even though the score didn't indicate it. It was a tough one against Kane Johnson as well. But I've never seen a kid so good at, when he needs to, putting a kid from feet to back. I mean, it's just he's explosive like that. He'll catch an arm, and before you know it, you're down 5 points because you were trying to throw or do whatever. So feet to back, man, he does a good job with it.
126 pounds. Dawson Johnson winning in the finals. Maybe not the finals match we were expecting, Steve, but beat Mason Carpenter of Lords 6-0 in the finals. Wins his third state title. Goes 3 for 3, looking for number 4 next year. But Steve, how about Carpenter's performance at state?
I was impressed by him. Carpenter had a great semifinal with Ian Radens. That was another intense one. Those first 4 weight classes for the semifinals, all of them, to be honest with you, but those 4, I was sitting down there. Congrats to Ian Radens on a great career. But Mason Carpenter, I was like, man, look out. The way he wrestled against Radens, I thought he was going to knock off Johnson, but Johnson just showed you. I know he suffered 2 losses, one last week to Radens, but Johnson is a champion, man. That's why he's a 3-timer.
132 pounds. Braden Sonnentag of Cadott beat Ian Krapp of Fenimore in the finals 1-0. How about this, Steve? In a semis and finals match, up 1 point going into the third. The other wrestler chooses down because why wouldn't you? And Sonnentag with the ride out in the third to win both on Friday and Saturday night. Just talk about pure grit.
I think, I can't remember if I was thinking this or you and Shane were talking about it, but he just looks so comfortable on top, doesn't he? I mean, he just settles in and he's moving, he's working, and you can see he's tiring guys out. And I tell you, Teague, that will transfer well to the next level. Being able to be a hammer on top is one thing you need to be successful at the D1 college level.
All right, 138 pounds. Also, Braden, congrats on your 4 state titles. The one guy we didn't reach out to yet about coming on to our show, but since he's talked to us before, I'm hoping he comes on.
I did already. I'll say this now. I secretly talked quietly to his coach beforehand and said, hey, if and when this happens, we got you on. He's like, yep, we're good.
All right, beautiful. So we're locked in. Lucas Sullivan of Mineral Point beats Colton Weiler of Auburndale 7-2 in the finals. And Steve, I just got to say, when it comes to the show, there's certain kids that you like really root for, and just the Mineral Point folks are just great people. And especially if someone does a runner-up, not once but twice, you love to see them break through. And Sullivan capped off a great year, beating Weiler 7-2, and just happy for the Mineral Point senior.
Yeah, great people on both sides, right? The Mineral Point side and obviously the Auburndale side. We've been following Colton Weiler all year. Great wrestler as a sophomore. He's the 3rd generation in his family to make the finals. His grandpa, dad, and now Colton. So that's kind of a neat little family thing they have going on. And I guess, well, he's got 2 more years, but I guess there's younger brothers coming up as well. But T, that was 2-1 going into third, and then Sullivan. Sullivan's a champion. We got to watch him at Bi-State, and he's seasoned, right? And he showed that in the third for his state championship.
Someone asked, so are Mineral Point and Stone tied now for individual titles with the girls' title? That's a good question, because I think because I thought with Rule, I thought they would have passed Stoughton. But I think that's an answer that we won't know until the WIA updates their stuff, because we were kind of talking about that at the end of the tournament, right, Steve?
Correct. Yeah, somebody was counting it rules, but I'm assuming they're going to make them a separate list because if you look on the WIA website where it says archive or whatever it might be, is that they're going to start a girls list running total of how many state champs different schools have. So I'm assuming it's going to be a separate list. So right now, Mineral Point and Stoughton would be tied.
Good stuff. Hey, we got Ryan Fire Up Woods on right now. What's up, Ryan?
Nice.
All right, 145 pounds. Taryn Riley of Mineral Point. Same story here, Steve. A 2-time runner-up, and then goes on a tear his senior year. Beats Mason Hoopman of Cedar Grove of Belgium, who we're going to see next weekend. Beats him 9-0 in the finals to capture his first state title. And basically the same thing as Sullivan. I mean, he seems like he just put it all together this year, and it seemed pretty clear near the end that it was going to be his title to lose.
Yeah, Riley was up 5-0 after one and just didn't let down on the gas. And 2 years ago, we had Curtis Fiedler on the podcast. I think it was for the sectional previews. And And coach said he's never seen a guy with a better gas tank than Taryn Riley. And I'm going to miss watching it because he's just fun. He's intense. He's a great wrestler to watch. And like I said, congratulations to the senior because I'm going to miss watching him.
152 pounds, Tate Flaggy of Aquinas beats Ashton Meese of Riverdale for it's the third time this year, I want to say. Yeah, I beat him 8-3 in the finals. Steve, this was a match. Meese actually got the first takedown, so he set the tone. Yep. But then Flaggy, those last two periods, just went on a tear. And man, what an individual state tournament Aquinas had. I don't think they're going away off of anyone's radar anytime soon. And props to Flaggy for capturing a state title for the Blue Golds.
Yeah, Flaggy, the second state champion in school history.
160 pounds. Tristan Stelt of Fenimore winning the sectional rematch over at Aquinas' Calvin Hargrove. Beat him 8-3 in the finals. Tristan Stelt third last year, and again this year, just looked like he was on a whole other level, Steve.
Yeah, he had 3 takedowns, and I'm just, it's funny when you look at the kid, and I keep on looking to check over and over again. It's like, man, he's just a sophomore. That's what's so impressive about the state title. Man, we get 2 more years to watch him.
And also, I give a shout out to Calvin Hargrove, just having covered him in football and being able to call him at the state football game. Just a great kid and a great athlete. I mean, wins a couple of team football or wins a state football championship his senior year, makes it to the finals his senior year. And I'm guessing baseball, he'll probably do just as well because I think that's what he's going to college for. So, yeah, going on to 170 pounds. David Moline of Aquinas captures the second title for the Blue Golds, beating Leona Wabino 3 Lakes' Ryan Roy in the finals, 3-2, Steve.
Yeah, Roy, I mean, you talk about different people that you follow throughout, since we've been doing this podcast. So we've really kind of taken a liking to Ryan Roy, even though I've never met him, but 4-time state medalist. It was tied going into the third teague, and at the halfway point, Moline got a takedown. Obviously, Roy got an escape, but that was a good battle between 2 tough wrestlers.
I was going to say that with Roy. Steve, being that it's our 4th year doing this, it's kind of weird. Maybe we'll talk about it a little later, not to get all like emotional now, but just like you definitely like to almost like have like a connection with the kids that you cover for a while, and to see Roy break through to the finals after 3 times being on the podium without a finals appearance, you're still happy for him in that sense. So
right on.
One more shout out to Mr. Ryan Roy. All right, going on to 182 pounds. Jackson Schrammick of Blair at Taylor beats TJ Mueller of Crivet, who Mueller might have been one of the most entertaining wrestlers this weekend. But Schrammick gets the fall in 2-52 to win his state title. And Steve, what seed was he?
He was number 7, and he was wrestling what number seed in the finals, Teague?
The 8 seed.
The 8 seed beat Jackson Ormond. That was crazy. That was crazy. Schrammick's the number.
That Jackson Ormond match was wild.
It was. Schrammick became the number. Blair Taylor. This was surprised me when I looked it up that night. I just remember so many good wrestlers from Blair Taylor, and my jaw almost hit the floor when I saw that Schrammick was only the 2nd state champion in school history for Blair Taylor.
All right, 195. I'm trying to think of who the first one would have been, but I don't know if it was recent or not. Maybe that's a question for the RV Wrestling Alumni website.
There you go.
195 pounds. Mitch Thompson of Kewanee beats Tyson Martin of Aquinas 15-6 in the finals. And see, just so you know, Tyson Martin is a good wrestler. He did have an interview for the Lacrosse Tribune where he just said it's hard to feel too bad because the guy was just a better wrestler than me. And I think when the person who you beat in the finals says that about you, like that's a compliment unlike any other. Thompson, I know last year fell just short in the finals, and it seems like he upped his game even more this year. And props to him for going out on his senior campaign. Again, it seemed like it was his finals to lose, and that's definitely what it ended up being.
Yeah, it was one of those weight classes. And where'd you say that, T? You saw that it was an interview with Martin?
Yeah, in the Lacrosse
Yeah.
Tribune.
Wow, that's a really neat. That's a nice tip of the hat for Martin to say that. That's pretty cool.
Also, shout out. See, we kind of brought it up while we were doing our commentary, but Levi Lindsay of Cadott placing 4th after last year. He was like a 500 wrestler, so that's that's a big jump. Had a couple of battles with a new all-name team contender, Bash Nielsen at state. 220 pounds. The big man from Auburndale, Sloan Welch, pinned Brady Lenair of Aquinas in a minute 33 seconds. So first and foremost, I guess I went with Vanden Hoffman. You ride with the picks, but Steve Welch, after pinning Garrett Kovchinski in the semis, just seeing what the guy could do to people at Bi-State. I don't know why anyone would go against him. Ending the year with only 2 losses, just absolutely ridiculous.
It was when I saw him at Bi-State, there was no way I was not picking him. He's just intense. I don't know what he's doing on the next level. I don't know if he's wrestling, but just the size of him, I'm sure he's got some kind of calling to play football. The dude's he's big T. What did you call who's the guy you called last year, a refrigerator with a singlet on?
Oh, the guy from Abbotsford, Colby. Carter Grew.
Carter Grew, yep. Well, I tell you what, Sloan Welch this year has taken over that reign in Carter Grew's absence.
Refrigerator with Legs award, yeah.
Yes. Big dude, man.
Also,
fun to watch.
Shout out Brady Lenair of Aquinas, who made it to the finals as the 9 seed there.
Right on.
All right, and last but not least here, heavyweight, you have Evan Grotz of Fenimore pinning David Gauderman of Wittenberg Burnhamwood in a minute 15 seconds. I mean, what's there? I think I'm gonna have a little more to say on Grotz here in a second, Steve. But I mean, just a great performance. I mean, we all know about Diego Morales. He beat him 6-1 in the semis. Division III heavyweight, Steve, never seems to disappoint. It just always ends up being a deep bracket. Nathan Zarens came in with 2 losses, ended up placing 6th. I mean, it was just another fun bracket.
I'm telling you, folks, stop leaving early for heavyweights. It's some of the most entertaining wrestling. This was probably the most intense, entertaining 1 minute and 15 seconds I've ever seen in a heavyweight final.
Brian Grassel, he did say, you called Sloan a refrigerator with legs. Yeah, that's basically what it is. All right, Steve, wrestler of the year. You go first on this one.
Not necessarily wrestler of the year, but Jackson Shremick, I'm just going to give a shout out. Wrestler of the tournament, right? Being the number 7 seed coming on in. I'm a sentimental guy, right? I really, and you're going to see a common theme when I make my pick for D1, but wrestler of the year in this case for 2 reasons. His weight class this year, dominant all year long, undefeated. This weight class was loaded. He had to wrestle his absolute best, not only in the semifinals, but also in the finals to win it. But Teague, it's just when I really like it when schools kind of get their name in that book. And for Kenosha Christian Life to get their first state champion in Drew Dolphin, it's like I said, my heart goes out to him and that school and making history for it. So Drew Dolphin, you're my Division III Wrestler of the Year.
I love it. Good pick. Yeah, that was it's cool, Steve. Koji was Kenosha St. Joseph's first champ last year, and now Dolphin with Christian Life. So the Kenosha private schools having a great couple years at the state tournament.
Yep.
Well, Steve, it might spoil my pick a little bit, but I'm going to go on the opposite end of the spectrum with this one.
The bookends.
And no, we are going bookends with it. And you know, like we said when we gave the disclaimer, Braden Sonente, you're exempt from this. We're not picking you as a wrestler of the year. You'll get your time to talk. Don't worry. I picked this guy. Steve, I think people forget how good Evan Grotz was. Or not Evan Grotz, but David Gauderman from Wittenberg Burnhamwood. Is. I mean, you think of who he lost to last year. He was behind Ebert and Teagles, and you kind of thought going in, well, this guy's winning a state title wherever he goes. And Evan Gratza not only pinned him in the final, Steve, but the story of the fact that he wasn't even a state qualifier last year, to think of the work that he had to put in to go from that to being a state champion is just absolutely awesome. Is there more like overall dominant performances, in the weight classes between what we talked about? Yeah, but I really like Gratza's story, and I think the pin in the finals, the win over Morales, I think that helped seal the deal for me. So I'm taking Gratz as my wrestler of the year.
Great pick.
Now we need to see an Evan Gratz Sloan Welch wrestle off. That's
there you go.
On the agenda. All right, Steve, at Division 2. Let me scroll up on the bracket here. I hope Jason is still up. Yeah, Jason, you can go to bed now. Thank you for tuning in. Or you can stay up and listen to D2 and
you
D1.
Bet. Have a good night.
Sloan is wrestling and playing football at UW Eau Claire.
Nice.
Oh, nice. So I might be able to. Also, 2 more Weilers are coming and a Welch. So that's pretty cool. All right, Division 206 pounds. Haken Peterson of Dodgeville beats Logan Mueller of Brilliant 14-7 in the finals. And Steve, if people didn't know about Haken Peterson before state, they definitely know about him now. Gets himself into the 4-timer conversation. Logan Mueller, a 2-time runner-up. You hope to see him out on top of the podium at some point in the next couple of years. But this bracket belonged to Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, Logan Mueller, just a great wrestler. And to have a 14-7 win for Peterson just shows you how tough the freshman is.
113 pounds. I got Charlie Might, Peterson's teammate, which may be a recurring theme down here. Beats Ethan Aird of Darlington Blackhawk 12-6, which they had the scoreboard wrong for a second, Steve.
I was just going to say, I kept doing a double glance. I'm like, wait a minute. Who's got who on their back? I'm rubbing my eyes.
And I mean, props to Might. Just, he seems, to think that we've seen like 2 of his only losses in the last couple of years at Bi-State's pretty crazy. And he just seems to turn it on even more after that. Although he lost to a really good wrestler at Bi-State. Let that be noted.
Yeah.
But, let's see. What was I going to say with that? Sorry, folks. Kind of lost my train of thought there. But no, Might just, he shows up at state especially. And, got to give props to Aird too, Steve. Beating Mogolski. That was a state placement rematch from last year. So, yeah.
Aird, great wrestler. T, can you imagine what the wrestling room looks like with these 3 going at it? Groups of 3, top, bottom out. It's got to be something.
Gosh. Also, Mike winning his second state title. I'm sorry if I forgot to mention that. Hey, Gratz and Sloan Welch are both up for the match. They both want it.
Awesome. Good.
Let's make it happen. 120 pounds. The third Dodgeville Dodger to win it. Reed Spurley beats Colton Hush in a finals rematch from last year, 3-0. A little closer score-wise this time around. But Spurley, I think he was kind of like dealing with an injury too going into the tournament. Looked just fine, Steve, as wins his second state title, ends his season with a 50-1 record. Got to give a shout out. His second closest match was Ethan Immel of Kewaskum, who ended up placing 4th. He lost to Lane Anderson in the 3rd place match. But yeah, congratulations to Reed Spurley on your second title. Any thoughts on the bracket, Steve?
Yeah, just Reed Spurley. We saw him last year at Bi-State, and just how impressive he is on top. Just the hammer, and he showed that he was up 3-0, and he rode out Hush in the 3rd. So just like our oh my gosh, yeah, just go on. I'm thinking names Sonateg. That's what I'm looking for. Teague, holy cow.
All right, Steve, 126 pounds. I'll just start with this. I was told this a couple of times. You don't doubt the Haitian sensation. Mr. Austin Blanchard wins his state title his senior year, 7-4 over Luke Dukes of Neilsville Greenwood Loyal. So, that was a great match between a couple of guys who kind of fell just short of that state championship last year. And really happy for Austin. Like we said, one of our best friends of the show. He's probably going to be the first person to like the post when we put out the podcast. People who listen to every episode are like, you bring this up every time. Well,
I know.
We got like one more time of doing this. So, yeah.
Well, Dukes was up 2-0 after 1 in this one, but Blanchard he kind of fought off an attack. Got a 2-point near fall right at the end to seal the deal. But yeah, I got to meet Austin. I think it was before the semis, Teague. I can't remember exactly when it was, but what a nice young man. Just came up shaking our hands and talking, but had a good conversation with him.
Oh yeah, super nice kid. Also talked to Kelly Blanchard as well. Great lady. And also on that flip side, Steve, Luke Dukes, 3-time runner-up. There's that flip side of the coin where you definitely do feel for that. You get so close, and you just hopefully you can take the lessons that you learn from the sport and use it going into the future.
That's true, Teague, but I can only imagine, and I'm sure it won't take long before it sets in to realize that what you accomplished was something special, and being in the finals 3 different times is truly amazing.
All right, Brad, how did they not know him? I'm talking about Hawkins. Well, Brad, not everyone follows wrestling like as much as like maybe us 3 do. So, all right, at 132 pounds. We got Danny Heiser of Evansville. Steve going 2 for 2 now. Beat Easton Warachek of Luxembourg Casco. A rematch from last year's semifinals. 3-1 to capture his second state title. And Danny Heiser impressed me last year, Steve. This year, even more so.
100%. That win over Warachek. Warachek was in my opinion, a much improved wrestler from last year. And to be able to ride Warachek out, meaning Heiser, in the second, and 3-1 seems pretty close, but it was a pretty controlled 3-1. So Heiser on a second state title, beating a state champ, definitely has him in the talks for being the wrestler of the year.
At 138 pounds, we got wow. We can talk about this one for days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rhett Koenig of Prairie du Chien beats Brody Hart 7-6 in the finals to capture his 4th state title. Steve, how about the call? You're tied up and you choose to go a neutral. You give up the point. Koenig basically just pushed all his chips in and bet on himself. And what did we all agree on up in the booth? He just knows how to win. Like, that's the best way to describe him.
He's scrappy. I mean, it looks like he got in a street fight before he comes in and fights every single time. I can only imagine how much he battles in the wrestling room. It's got to be a lot of fun. But this bracket, 138 pounds, your number 5 seed is Caden Clark from St. Croix Falls, right? And Tomazovic, Sefrud, Koenig, Hart. These are this was a really good bracket, and like I said, just ice water running through his veins. 30 seconds left or so, ties it up rather than try to ride him out. Just says, nope, I'm gonna let you go and try to win this right now. But yeah, how about that semifinal match too? I mean, just it did not look good there for a little bit. I almost had that feeling like, oh no, there's the dropping of the four-time title. But Koenig didn't agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, that was the semis. You were crazy. Koenig an ultimate tiebreaker, 4-3 over Sefrud. For the Sefrud, of course, it was fitting he gave him one last scare. And I think there's a state title in Owen Sefrud's future. And then Brody Hart and Tomazovic with that 8-7 finish, like you said. Yeah, that bracket, I could talk about that one for days. D2, 145 pounds. Nathan Vandehei, a runner-up last year, beat Max Ronsman from Luxembourg Casco. Beat him 7-1 in the finals. And I know kind of a shortened season for Ronsman, Steve, but I think regardless, Vandehei just looked like he was on a totally different level this year.
I was talking to head coach Brad Baker from Freedom, and I told him that. I said, yeah, last year Vandehei, I kind of noticed him, but the amount that he improved this year. I know last year I talked about Owen Heiser from his sophomore year to his junior year being the D2 most improved wrestler. That was Nathan Vandehei for me. His coach said that, yeah, he worked really hard in the offseason, wrestling all the time. And Nathan Vandehei, he was pretty dominant in the 145-pound field.
Also, Landon Radke of River Valley, Steve, ended his career. We thought it was going to be top 3 from that sectionals, getting the top 3 at state. He beat DeSallier 3-2 in the third place match. 152 pounds. Zane Licht of Lodi beat Nick Alexander of Wrightstown at 6-1. And Steve, we know how good of a wrestler Alexander is. Licht winning 6-1. I think that just really, it helps put into perspective how good of a wrestler Licht is. Ends his senior year 55-0, 2 state titles, season takedown record. You know the whole deal.
Right on. Yeah. Hey, I owe this my wrestling fan from Lodi. I know you'll be listening to this eventually. I owe her an apology. I have a big fan on here, and she was very upset with me for my 152-pound choice. So I'm going to say right now, I apologize. But hey, Zane Licht, here's what impressed me about Zane. He is good in all. Sometimes you get wrestlers and they're good on their feet or they're really good on top or whatever it is. Zane Licht is good in all facets of the game, right? I mean, he was wrestling a guy in the finals and Nick Alexander, who's really good on top, and Zane Licht was able to neutralize him. So hats off, Zane. I think Zane's got all the skill set to be very successful at the next level for wrestling.
Brad said Smiley. Oh, that's Vanda High's nickname. Yeah, he's always smiling. Vanda High was a very smiley person, that's for sure. 160 pounds. Braden Scholes of Kewaskum. Again, Steve, I mean, let's just count the points here. 18 plus 21, 39 plus 19. Put up 58 points. 3 tech falls on his way to his 4th state title. Ends his senior year 52-0, beating Owen Wasley in the finals. Props to Owen Wasley for making it to finals. Still has 1 more year to go. But, Steve, any thoughts on Braden Scholes before we try to get him on here sometime in the next month or so?
No, I'm excited to get him on because I've never seen him more. To me, it seems like a quiet 4-time state champ. He just kind of does his business and really doesn't shine a light on. It reminds me of Barry Sanders after, I don't know, Teague, if you even remember a guy named Barry Sanders.
You made the same
I say
joke
that
on the
tongue-in-cheek.
podcast last year. Yeah.
Oh, did I really? Well, Teague, don't remind everybody. I mean, most people forgot it. Now you made me sound like I'm losing my mind, which is probably true. But Braden Scholes is he reminds me of Barry Sanders. He just does his job and gets off the mat and goes eats ice cream. So seems like a really good kid.
At 170 pounds, Silas Daly of Plymouth beats Tanner Kaufman of Northwestern. Texham in the finals, Steve. It was a 16-0. Props to Kaufman for making it from that 6th spot. Silas Daly, first time making the final, Steve, just was in pretty tough brackets his freshman and sophomore year. Now ends his junior year with the title. It's Plymouth's first champion. I don't know if you have the number on it, but I know it's been a good number of years for their champion. I think it's like over 20.
Oh, is it? I don't know, Teague. It's the 4th champion school history, and yeah, shout out to him and Andy Crivolone. Andy, I messaged him today. I know he's got twin boys. It is confirmed he's got twin boys coming. So, but his wife did her best to hold out so that she didn't have their babies when Andy was down at state. But he said they're coming sometime this week. So congratulations to Andy and Silas, Andy, on becoming a future dad and also your first state champion.
182 pounds. Wyatt Ingham of Amory pins Trey Shanebeck of Luxembourg Casco in 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Steve, it may have been the win that got him the championship, but I think the result that we were all impressed by was that semifinal match over Evansville's Owen Heiser. Beat him 14-2. And Steve, we knew Ingham was good, but I think it's hard to pick against Heiser. But man, Ingham had himself a year, and I shouldn't have been as surprised by that result as I was. But wow, the Amory Jr. just looked amazing, and I'm excited to see what he can do next year.
Yeah, it's easy for me to say this now, because I didn't say it on air, but I really wanted to pick Wyatt. I think what scared me on it is that he was the number 4 seed. And I'm like, why is he the number 4 seed? I couldn't believe that. But yeah, he's probably be talking a little bit about him later as well, as we make our picks. But he really impressed me in that semifinal match. And Teague, just a junior. That's what is even more scary.
All right, 220 pounds.
Nope, you missed 195, Teague.
Oh, sorry. Oh, my Lord. Whoopsies. 195 pounds. No disrespect to the big cat here. Ian Smith of Northwestern beats Chase Matthias 3-2 in the finals. And Steve, again, this was probably like one of my 3 to 5 like favorite finals matches on the night. But Ian Smith, a 2-time runner-up, captures the title this year. And you'll love to see him win the title, especially he had to get through a gauntlet of a bracket to win it. Seems to be the recurring theme for D2 195. But yeah, thoughts on the match? Thoughts on the bracket?
Just a bracket. I mean, impressive win. I know I picked Matthias in this one because I got to see him the week before. Real strong wrestler. Ian Smith, it was funny. This was back when you were off, but I was listening to the call with Shane Sparks and Joe Miller, and they said, Ian Smith drew the short straw the last 2 years because he had to face a guy in the final twice by the name of Clayton Whiting. But Matthias is not an easy out either, and just to get there, Blake Theory from PDC was a tough match as well. So yeah, like you said, 2 years in a row, 195, just a loaded weight class.
All right, now 220 pounds. Sorry, I scrolled down too far. Coy Hopke beat Connor Thomas of Peshtigo in the finals with a pin in 39 seconds. And Steve, I'll spoil things now. I'll probably be talking about Hopke in a second here. He wrestled just over a minute in a state tournament series. But Steve, I think the Connor Thomas story, him making it to the finals, is awesome because last year, remember, he left the state tournament on a stretcher, and for him to come back and do what he did and make it to the finals, I think that can't go unnoted. So props to Connor on making the finals. Coy, congratulations on your third state title. And this will not be the last time we talk about Coy Hopke.
Yeah, I think I'll wait because I was going to say something, but I'll wait for just a little bit.
Okay. And then a D2 285, Gunnar Hoffman, the big man from Neilsville, Greenwood, Loyal, pins a Porter Mandarano of Belmont Platteville in 1:39 seconds. Steve, this bracket, especially the top 4 seeds, was absolutely loaded. And Hoffman, who was the state runner-up last year, again, just seemed to up his game even more. And, pinning his way through this bracket's impressive. Even Ben Roman in the quarterfinals was a pretty good pin. And even coming back like from an injury, was pretty big. So props to Gunnar Hoffman on breaking through and getting a title in your senior year.
Teague, in this weight class, has got the most nicknames that we haven't created, but the most nicknames that we have in there. Why don't you run through them quickly?
Well, because we didn't make Vander Heiden. That's thing 2. His brother.
Yeah, but that's a good one. I think we're going to take claim to that one. I like that.
Mandarano.
Thing 2.
We just call him the Mandarano mullet. That's what he's rocking. And then Steve, one last time for the people. You got the 46-5 senior, the third place state finisher from Monroe, the Navy football commit. Talking about none other than Quesero Gigante, the giant cheesemaker himself, Isaac Bunker.
You know what's so funny about that, T, is Andy Crivolone took a selfie with the giant cheesemaker and sent it to us. And I asked Isaac afterwards, I'm like, did you know that guy? He goes, well, I knew he was a coach, but he just asked if he could take a selfie with me. He goes, can I take a selfie with the giant cheesemaker? And I just thought that was awesome.
And with that, we put the name to rest. It had a great run.
Oh, we're going to bring it up more.
Yeah. All right. Steve, Wrestler of the Year. Do I have first on this one?
Yeah, well, why don't we call it both, right? Go ahead.
Well, because we choose different, right? I thought we made the agreement that we go different.
Oh, do we really have to?
Okay. No. Yeah. No.
Yeah. No, go ahead. You go first because I have a second. I do have a good one.
Okay, Steve. So last year we didn't pick him. We went with Max Ramberg last year, and Max's wrestling story. I love his story, and he's a great kid. So I don't feel bad about that pick. Plus, I had a feeling that this guy was going to have another state title, so we could talk about him again. Also, we don't go with four-timers. Third disclaimer.
That's right.
You wrestle just over a minute in the state finals. I mean, you have, I think, one match that went to the second period, maybe two. But, Steve, the most impressive stat, I don't know how he outdoes this, did not give up a single point all year, not even an escape.
Wow.
And with that being said, whatever anyone else has going on, I have a hard time passing up Coy Hopke. Coy, you did it. You earned my Wrestler of the Year title for this year. Congratulations.
Nice. Well, Coy, just in the fact of that I can't pick you because Teague already did and I have to go with somebody else. I will say this. I was driving home on Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember what it was, but I was thinking the thought I was going to text some different coaches that I knew, 4 or 5 different ones and say, from older coaches and say, hey, is there ever been a more dominant wrestler in the state of Wisconsin than Coy Hopke? And it's so funny because on the forum the next day, a discussion got started about that. And people are saying, no, there's never been a more dominant wrestler than Coy Hopke. So, Wrestler of the Year, Teague, that's a pretty darn good one. I'm going to give my runner up. I wrote down his teammate, actually. We talked about it for beating a state champ and a good one in the semifinals. I'm going to give a quick nod to Wyatt Ingham, but my pick, and I kind of already hinted to this, and someone else said one of the best wrestlers in the state. I agree. This guy just truly, he impressed me so much. I think he's going to have, sometimes you see wrestlers go to the next level, especially D1, and not see that success. I think Zane Licht we're going to see him, man. I'm going to make a prediction that he's going to be a national place winner and have high success. Zane Licht of Lodi, for your dominant performance for the last 2 years and before that, becoming the takedown holder for your team. Zane Licht, you're my D2 Wrestler of the Year.
Let's go. Can't go wrong with either of those choices, Steve-O. All right, so a Division 1, 106 pounds. Mr. Fire Up, you better still be on here. Did you log in as the Oconomowoc Wrestling Club, Ryan, or is that a different person? Anyways, Division 1, we have 106 pounds. Liam Neitzel of Hudson beats Micah Beckett of De Pere at 12-2 in the finals. And wow, Neitzel. I mean, last year finished 4th. There was kind of some talk about how he could have been a state champion last year, and I think kind of used that chip on his shoulder. Steve did not disappoint this year.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just glad I got a shirt with his name on the back of it, right? Not often you get a state champ. And Ryan Rambo. Pretty pumped that I got Ryan Rambo on there as well, founder of the all-name team. But Liam Neitzel, congratulations. I'll wear you on my back with pride.
Also, shout out Mr. John Sternweiss, the 10 seed, ended up placing 5th in the 106-pound bracket. Steve, 113 pounds. Wyatt Skiba of Hortonville beats Braden Casey of Menominee 4-3 in the finals. And wow, I mean, first of all, Casey's a gamer, man. I mean, gave up that first takedown to Maximus Hay, and just the way he can force ties into his Greco stuff, winning that semis match over the Brown Deer freshman, who I'm excited to watch for 3 more years. That was just impressive. This 113-pound bracket, Steve, once you see all the names like that placed, it was very impressive. But I love Skiba winning it just on the basis that 2-time state runner-up, and I think for a couple years we loved him for his story, right? Almost didn't wrestle sectionals, but then someone got hurt, and he wrestled sectionals that COVID year, and ended up being a state runner-up that year. But I think he enjoys the title of state champion more than that one. So props to the Hortonville senior for capturing that state title.
I like that COVID story year where he was 3rd, and because he it was in all fairness didn't qualify, but then got the opportunity to made the most of that opportunity. So I think it's fantastic. But yeah, someone made the comment, very entertaining finals match at 113.
All right, 120 pounds. We have Ben Bast of West Bend West and Kellen Wolbert in the finals. Steve, they put on a show one more time for us, man. Kellen
Yep.
Wolbert wins in the tiebreaker periods. Like you say, your favorite moments of the wrestling matches, those 2 tiebreaker periods. Beats Ben Bass at 9-8 in round 3 of their in-season battles this year. What do you have to say about this one?
Not much. It was fun. I sometimes I sit up in the booth with binoculars, and I know it's hard to do, but as everybody's as the intensity is going on, I'll take binoculars and start looking around. And you should have saw the heads. Every head was over facing that way. It was exciting. I talked to Coach Woody about this. So at the Battle of the Bay it was, and I said, man, Kellen's just impressive. He just does not, in all aspects of his game, he just does not look like a freshman. Just his poise, his appearance, whatever it is. And man, we get to watch him for 3 more years. It's truly a treat.
Yeah, that was if I'm talking about ranking finals matches, that one might have to be number 1. Just the grit that you see. You don't see that from many wrestlers, let alone a freshman, for him to battle like he did back in that match. And just a shout out on the other side of the coin, Steve, Ben Bass, friend of the show the last couple of years, did win a state title. I always like to have fun with us in our picks. So whatever he's doing in his next venture in life, I wish him the best.
100%.
126 pounds. Lucas Peters beats Jacob Herm of Nina. Petey, as he is known in the Kaukauna area, beats him 11-9 in the finals. And wow, what a match that was. But Peters just looked impressive all year and capping it off with a state title at 126.
Yeah, Herm, Teague, as far as I know so far, Herm is the lowest seed at number 4 to make it to the finals. So that's a battle. Obviously beating Haldeman just to get there says a lot, but 11-9 is a pretty a lot of high scoring action for a finals match. A lot of entertaining ones the last few.
Herm, now a 2-time runner-up, 2 years into his career. Another guy hope to see make the top of the podium at some point. Steve at 132 pounds. Kellen Ari of Menominee beats Brian Winans of Kaukauna 5-1 in the finals. Runner-up last year, now a champion. And good. I mean, this was just a good bracket in general. There was no easy way to get to this point, and Ari ends up coming out on top. Props to the Menominee senior. I owe Stephanie Ari Dippin' Dots next year. See, this is one of those too, and you can talk on that after this. But like, again, doing this for 4 years, you get to follow some guys more, and kind of talking to Brian more this year. It's weird. You kind of root for both guys, right? Like someone has to lose, and again, Brian, great job on making it to the finals, man, and best of luck to you in your future ventures. And yeah, Stephanie, yes, I do owe you Dippin' Dots.
You sure do. Well, and Brian, we'll get to see this coming weekend, or Friday and Saturday at Team State.
Yes, sir. Well, you did pick Kellen. That's right. So
I did. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Picks wise, because we're mentioning a lot of the picks that you got right. I won 41-36. The big difference maker was Division III, where I got 10 and you got 7. But it's the nature of the pick sometimes. We got over 50%, and I consider that a win, right?
There you go.
138 pounds. Grayson Clark beats Reese Wild Thornberry of a Germantown 13-3 in the finals. And yeah, I saw the comment too.
Thanks, Stephanie. Love ya.
Clark wins his 4th title, and Steve, we're gonna have a lot to say on Grayson's career. It was a dominant one. It was a fun one. Props to, Brett Franklin and Thornberry both went the full match with them, but I think Grayson probably do maybe just enjoy the moment in the Kohl Center a little more as well. But the 4th Division I wrestler, Steve, to be a 4-timer. So that's a very rarefied air.
Yeah, very tough. Somebody on could do what's Grayson Clark's overall record? I'd like to know that. It's got to be pretty impressive. And but good luck to him too. I think Grayson's going to have a fantastic college career. Can't wait to watch him at the next level.
Boiler up. 145 pounds. You got Wyatt DuChateau, the DuChateau Show, gets a pin for Mr. Jacob Ward of Bayport in 52 seconds in the finals. Wins his second state title on the year. I mean, Steve, what do you have to say on that one? I mean, it was a great bracket in general.
Yeah,
but
well, that's what you stole that. I was thinking of that overall, the toughness of the bracket. I mean, Hoyt Blaskowski, right? I mean, what did Hoyt end up taking, Teague? Was it fourth?
Hoyt ended up taking
fifth. I mean, and Nilo, it's like Gavin Finch even that Ward had to wrestle in the quarterfinals. I mean, this is a exciting bracket. We got to meet Ward's parents, nice people, great people, right? And it pained me not to pick him. I picked Jacob Ward sophomore year, and I picked him junior year. And every tournament he's ever been in that we made picks, I've always picked him. But DuChateau has just shown the power and his wrestling ability. And Teague, we get to watch him another year here, and I don't know what he's doing at the next level, but you talk about success at the next level. DuChateau has that ability to be very successful at a D1 school where he chooses to go.
This is Steve, you brought up a couple names, but this is definitely a class that I'm gonna miss. And I think 145 is like we've done a lot of talking with Ward and Nilo and Hoyt. Obviously, we always had some chatter. Hoyt's always a fun guy to talk wrestling with, but yeah, the senior class that's leaving, I think 145 might be the epitome of that. It's a group that I'm gonna miss talking about for sure.
Right on.
Moving on to 152. Sorry, I'm getting sentimental, but we'll.
Me too.
Moving on to 152 pounds. Jake Stoffel of Appleton North caps off his 44-1 season, beating Caleb Denny of Marshfield 5-3 in the finals. Steve, I just got to make this note before you break down the bracket here, but top three finishers at 132 last year: Wyatt DuChateau, Kellen Ari, Jake Stoffel.
Huh.
All state champs this year.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That was some deep digging. Holy cow. Getting late. I don't have much to add, Teague, as far as breaking down the bracket. I'll just say this. Congratulations to Stoffel and head coach Scott Clough, one of the good people in the sport, right? We've had him on the podcast. Just a great man, but that's the first state champ in Appleton North school history. So way to go.
So Caleb Denny, the 6th seed, making his way to the finals. Is that the lowest seed now to make? Well, in Division I, the lowest seed to make the finals.
Division I, the lowest seed, correct.
All right, 160 pounds. That might change as we go down here, but we'll see.
Yep, I think so.
We got Charlie Millard of Homestead. He beat Garrett White of Marshfield at 9-1 in the finals. This bracket just absolute craziness throughout. But Steve, Charlie Millard, there's not many people you can be happier for than Millard and the Millard family in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Great people. Ernie, I mean, Ernie's a great man. I don't even think I've ever met him in person, but I feel like I just know him so well. But great bracket. Even Peyton, I'm looking at different names in this one. Peyton Fry of Reedsburg. Obviously, they're going to be wrestling down at state. But Caden Brandenburg, he showed me a lot, just a junior. But that Crook Willie White match, Teague in the quarterfinals went to was it first overtime? I can't even remember now. Sun Victory, where it went tiebreaker. Yeah, that was a fun one to watch. Jack Gillis. I mean, this is a tough weight class. Druckery, but Charlie Millard is just he's just shown that he's taken that to the next level, and one more year left at the high school level.
170 pounds. Ethan Riddle of Germantown beats Caden Young of Shawano 14-5 in the finals. Steve Riddle last year in a stacked 160-pound weight class won it. This year winning a second title in a little more dominant form. I mean, talk about a guy. Sometimes he can win a state title, maybe be complacent. But I think Riddle, just what he did over the offseason and now what he did to end his career, just absolutely awesome. And another guy that we'll be seeing wrestling next weekend.
Right on. Yep. And Caden Young, shout out to him too. He just feels like a journeyman, right? I mean, he's just a guy that feels like he's been around forever. And, it's not a state title, but I got to imagine Teague walking in that parade of champions is still one of those things that you'll never forget.
And Steve, we got our dream auto matchup at state. So
We did. Yep.
I'm happy about that one. Mr. Ben Ott made the semis there. 182 pounds. Noah Mulvaney of Arrowhead, the 46-3 senior. Steve, you gotta love it. Second in his career, captures a state title, beats Michael Alexander of De Pere 12-6.
I don't know what to add. 4 medals, man. That's pretty sweet. I got nothing to add, but
4
Michael
top 3
Alexander
finishes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting back thinking, wow. I mean, 4 state medals. Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, another loaded weight class, and looking down Trenton Gibbons, Casey Gish. I mean, these guys this is a stacked one. And to be the champion of this one is, you can look and say, man, I won a pretty deep bracket.
All right. So congratulations to Mr. Mulvaney on your first state title. And at 195 pounds, Steve, Connor Mirasola gets, I believe this was the quickest pin in the finals overall. Pins Ryder Deppies of Merrill in 32 seconds. Third state titles, gone 3 for 3 so far. Again, Steve, he's a guy that we're running out of things to say.
What more do you say, right? I mean, they just committed to Penn State, so I mean, we get to watch them another year before they go make that trip. But Ryder Deppies, Teague, is a I don't know if you've ever got to watch him wrestle or follow him a little bit, but a dominant, he's like outside of Mirasola, he's a dominant wrestler, and just to see him get pinned and controlled that much is just scary to how good Mirasola is. But with that being said, Ryder Deppies from Merrill, great career, congratulations to you.
220 pounds, Aiden Sinclair of Milton. The junior picks up his second state title, beating Brock Arndt of Appleton North 12-6 in the finals. And kind of the same story as 195, where Brock Arndt, we know he's a very good wrestler. Him and Kovchinski had a really good semis match that Arndt won 4-3. And Sinclair just kind of makes things look easy.
He sure does. He's slick. He's fast. I mean, he was giving up a lot of size, but and Brock Arndt, just a junior, a big man, right? And Sinclair's a big man too, but Arndt just towered over him, and Sinclair just used that finesse, the strength when he had to, and just fun to watch wrestler.
He kind of just disappears on his ducks. Like that was
yes,
that was crazy.
He also looks like he's and I've heard this too. He's a great student of the game, but you could almost see him thinking like, all right, he keeps doing this. And I don't know how to say it, but there's like, you can see him kind of analyzing, all right, he keeps doing this, so I'm going to counter with this. And it's like I said, he's just fun to watch. So I know it sounds like a broken record, but he really is.
Also, Steve, got to give one last shout out here. Founder of the All Name Team, which maybe we'll do someday. Who knows?
Yep.
Ryan Rambo wrestled his last match this weekend, and Steve not only got shirts, but just a nice like acknowledgement overall from the Rambo family.
Yep.
And that one definitely like hit the heartstrings a little bit. Lisa sent a message and she said, "Catch you on the flip side," and that almost broke me. But Steve, it's one of those things. I kind of got to the end of this year and I was like, oh man, this is the last time like we're seeing some of these guys, and
right.
It's weird because we're in the media, right? Like it's not like we're actually coaching these guys, but like it just kind of shows like the connections you create in the wrestling community. Like they're meaningful. And Ryan Rambo, we are gonna miss talking about you, dude.
You bet, and your family.
And Steve at 285 pounds. Cole Mirasola, the smallest 285 pounder there, wins his bracket, beating Griffin Empey 19-9 in the finals. And Steve, he made it look easy at 100 and weighing basically 200 pounds and having to eat and drink to get to that weight.
He sure did. Yeah. Griffin Empey, we really like watching him wrestle. 3-time state runner-up, Teague. Am I correct on that?
Three-time state runner-up, yeah.
Three-time state runner-up. Had a great semifinal match with Jackson Mankowski. At first, I thought it was going to be Jackson, the man-child, being there. But Griffin Empey, great career. I know he's going to play football. I think it's at North Dakota State University. And I watched him. I got to ref a game that he was playing in. And he's going to be good, right? He's got the size. He's got the frame to fill it out. So, good luck to him at the next level. And wrestling, I hope it helps you kick butt on the football field, bud.
All right, wrestler of the year. Let me get my notes pulled up here. You got first on this one.
Well, let me flip over. Mine's pretty easy. I'm not going to give a lot. I know, obviously, great. Another fourth time we're talking about this. Grayson Clark cannot be in it because he's a four-timer, and we're hoping to get him on the show as well. I kind of tip my hat to who mine is going to be already, Teague, when I picked my D3 pick. I'm a sentimental guy. I don't have a big lead up to this one. 44-1, finished first state title in school history, my wrestler of the year from Appleton North. Teague, Appleton North's nickname is?
The Lightning.
The Lightning. Good job, Appleton North. But Jake Stoffel, congratulations. Just a junior. We'll be trying to make number 2 next year.
All right, Steve. We so obviously I think with D1, like, it's pretty straightforward to say, like, you could probably go with anyone that was like in those upper weights, like off pure domination.
Yep.
But again, like, you kind of look at the stories, and I kind of had Skiba in there in terms of the excitement factor and just the year he had as an undefeated freshman. Kellen Wolber was on my list, but I'm kind of using the Coy Hopke from argument from last year. And that I think Kellen Wolber will probably win a wrestler of the year for us at some point. So
right.
his time will come. I'm going to give it to a kid, a combination of A, just a good dude, B, had a good season overall, and C, his state tournament run was amazing. He beat his closest match at state was a 7-2 victory over a guy that people thought was going to be like a style mismatch for him in the semis. Then getting a pin over a state champion in the finals is impressive. His only loss on the year was to, I think he was ranked number 1 nationally at the time in the Cheesehead finals, and he even had a shot to win that one as well. And he thanked me after that one. He's like, hey, you know what? Thanks for riding with me even when the odds were kind of against me. And I'm going to go with Wyatt Duchateau, the Duchateau Show, as my wrestler of the year.
Nice. Great pick, Teague.
Yeah, that's what we got for wrestler of the year, Steve. And so here's why I switched to Division 1. And let's see. Want to thank, we got 22 plus 5. Wow, it's late. Everyone's still tuned in. For the 45 people still watching, I'm probably not going to check the chat anymore. We're going to end the show on this note. But I wanted to end it with D1 because at 285 when that match ended, obviously you're happy for Mirasola winning, but I thought of Empey and being a 3-time runner-up, and not only how good he is, but like how good of a kid he is as well. And you just like tell yourself in your head, and I told Spildy this as well. Christine, I'll get you an answer later. That's a good question, by the way. I told his dad this as well, but he's a good kid. And Steve, I think we realized that maybe I shouldn't say this as a wrestling media person, but it's kind of bigger than what happens on the mat. What really matters is the lessons you take off the mat. So anyways, a few years ago, there's this really cool post that came up on the forum, and I read it after the state recap that year because I think there's some people that like might still need to read this right now. Obviously, we kind of talked about the other end of things, whether you lose in the finals, you don't get the placement you want, you lose right away, or even if you don't make it to state. But John Gunderson from Baraboo, who was a state champ during the COVID year in 2021, his dad wrote this, I think it was like a day after John won state. And I'm just going to end with the reading, sign off. We have Team State on Wednesday, our Team State preview. So, yeah, I'll get started on this, sign off, and then that will be it for the show. But, all right. It was, it's titled The Other Guy on the Mat by John Gunderson's father. dramatic water drink.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Now getting started. The other guy on the mat. With the blow of a whistle and a slap of the mat, my son's dream of being a state champion was finally realized. We've seen a lot of crazy celebrations at the end of big matches, and it was John's turn to do the same. He released his grip of his opponent, jumped up, flexed, pointed over to the mat side cameras and to COVID-empty bleachers, and finished things off with a breathtaking backflip. No. He released his grip, and before getting up, his moment was interrupted by the awareness that he was not the only one on the mat. The other boy was still on his back, hands over his head. One boy's dreams had been realized and another's had been swept away. Pivoting to stand up, John stopped, turned back, and reached down to pat his opponent on the arm. It wasn't much, but with that short expression of encouragement, the other boy immediately worked to his feet and they each made their way to the center of the mat. I've always wondered how John might react to winning such a big match. Apparently no different than any other. He walked to the center circle, shook hands with his opponent, and offered another pat on the shoulder. Each wrestler went to the opposing corner to shake hands with coaches, before crossing paths one final time. Another handshake, and this time reciprocating pats on the back. Respect. Nice. Now, I'm not really intending to make a statement against celebrating a big win. I think I would have. But wrestling, unlike any sport I know, has a distinct loser. The win is all yours and for all to see. And so is the loss. John has known the thrill of many victories, but he's also known the agony of falling just short. Until Saturday, he had never won a state title. People sometimes dismiss the significance of the U State tournament compared to the high school experience, but in our memories, it was very big. It was held at the Alliant Energy Center with stadium seating and under big lights, creating a larger-than-life experience. John made the finals there as well, 3 times. He lost each time, always close matches, once in the final seconds. Those losses were devastating to him. Each time he thought it was his time to win. After that third loss, we left the tournament and tried to distract him with a special stop in Madison to Applebee's. The family ate well that night, celebrating a great tournament. John sat in the car to cry instead. John lost in the high school finals as well. The memory is vivid, being just last year. He had decisively won every match throughout the season before knocking off the top-ranked favorite in the semifinals. Then came those finals again. 2 minutes in and I could see he was having some sort of blood sugar issue or something. Maybe his opponent brought it out of him, but I had never seen him like that before. He was dizzy, confused, and running on autopilot. He kept looking over at me with fear in his eyes, like he wanted me to do something. I couldn't help. Somehow he was leading 5-2 with 2 minutes to go, but I knew he was done. The kid who hadn't given up a takedown in 36 matches throughout the season gave up 3 in the final 2 minutes. He could have given up 30. Deep in the bowels of concrete hallways of the Kohl Center, John cried again. The deep kind. The kind that makes a dad wonder why we do this. But character is forged through the fires of adversity. We learn from losses. John said in a newspaper interview last week that he went through a period when he had to learn that his identity was not in wrestling. He said that wrestling is something that he does. It's not who he is. These are not new concepts to us or him, but I think he resonated with Olympic champ Kyle Snyder, who after losing in the finals of the World Championships said he was not defined by his wins or by his losses, but by his relationship with Jesus. John said something similar for the paper. For that, I'm glad Kyle Snyder had a big loss. And for that, I can be glad that John had a big loss as well. I'm not sure you'll learn things like that through winning. We need the losses as well. As John and I sat together back in the bowels of Kaukauna High School, waiting our turn for the finals, trying to stay positive and relaxed, wrestlers from the smaller weight classes were finishing their matches. Jubilant winners were soaking it up in the gym, celebrating with family or being interviewed by reporters. Others were making their way back to us, finding secluded spots to have their moment to cry. Really good wrestlers. Nationally acclaimed wrestlers. Deep cries. Gulp. Eventually, it was time to make our way to the gym. Another top wrestler in the hallway, on all fours in exhausted agony. Reminders all around us of what was at stake in a championship match, at least for a time. Well, John wrestled, and he wrestled well, but he did not wrestle alone. He did not beat a clock or a team. There was a winner and there was a loser. We didn't know much about the boy John wrestled in the finals. We knew he was an outstanding wrestler. He qualified for state all 4 years. He got third last year. He went 60-2 over his last 2 years, both losses to the same nationally ranked wrestler. John was 50-1 over the same stretch. It was an even matchup. The other boy deserved a title just as much as John. He too had put in the work, and he too had experienced loss. I'm glad I didn't look it up ahead of time, but I later read an article that said he lost an older brother to cancer 10 years ago. Wow. Maybe he had great composure after his finals loss because John was so nice. Or maybe it was because this young man has taken his own path and learning there are bigger things in life than wrestling matches. We've learned a lot of things through this journey in wrestling. We're glad to learn a few things through a big win this time. With joy and satisfaction in setting high goals and achieving them. It was quite an evening. But on the long ride home, John was drawn to talk about how bad he felt for certain kids who fell just short that evening, though just as deserving. Another pat on the back. The jubilance of winning is not diminished by acknowledging those around you. They faced what was at stake in trying to do something remarkable. Our deepest respect to those who fell just short on our big day. You are much more to us than just the other guy on the mat. And with that, folks, we will catch you on the flip side.